like to bring my guest to you up close and personal. Ladies and gentlemen, it brings me great pleasure to bring to you international recording artist, Mr. Dwayne Dolphin. Dwayne, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. You can say that again. That sounded like somebody else.
Yeah, man. That's you, man. But I really admire your humbleness, man. You know what I mean? And that's one of the things that really attract me to you. But look here. What I want to do with you right now while I got you here, let's go all the way back to the beginning, man.
Okay.
Where was you born?
Right here in Pittsburgh.
What part?
I grew up in the Hill.
You grew up in the Hill District?
Yep.
Now, what was that like for you growing up on the Hill District back then?
I mean, that was awesome because a lot of people, it's funny, you say the name Hill District and you get a couple different reactions. Yeah. One is like, ooh, the area was rough. Yeah. But the other thing was, too, it was the cultural mecca here. So I'm glad I grew up in a where I could just walk outside, man, and every kind of artist was there. You know, guys like Dingbat. Guys like, they had this, I can't remember the name of this, it'll come to me. The name of this art center that was up there that they had with Chris Sullivan and Mabutu and Jothan Collins, all these great people were there. So growing up in the Hill was cool, man, because I was right there with a lot of other musicians and a lot of the artists, so it was perfect.
Yeah, well, what did you do for fun as a little boy, man?
Man, I was into sports, man.
Yeah.
I was into football. I played a lot of football, played a lot of basketball. You know, just the normal kid stuff. I was totally into sports, and that's what I thought I'd be doing.
Right.
Lifting weights and all that kind of stuff.
Okay,
man.
now, but before all that, I mean, let's go back to like kindergarten, first, second, third grade and all that. Can you remember back then, man? What was it like for you then?
Boy. So, man, you want the truth.
Hey, man, we want to know about you, Dwayne.
Well, anybody that's watched this who knew me as a kid knew that I came up singing first.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, I was first a singer before I ever touched an instrument in my life. All I loved was Michael Jackson and the stuff he was doing. I sang Ben in so many talent shows. I don't even know what that number is or what that's all about, but that's how I started. I heard the, Jackson 5.
Is that what got you interested in singing? Was it the Jackson 5? You had seen them, on TV or something?
Oh, yeah. And then I heard Michael Jackson. I was like, And then when I opened my mouth, fortunately, I sounded like him.
Yeah.
So I said, well, let me try this. So I started to sing the Jackson 5 stuff. And it worked for me as a kid. Okay, so that got me started.
Okay, now take us there. The first time you sang in front of an audience, man, you remember where that was and what that experience was like for you?
It was probably in grade school. And I went to Madison School.
Right.
And I'll never forget, man, I was so scared. My mother told me, she said, there was this, at the back of the auditorium was a clock. My mother said, you just concentrate on that clock, son. I didn't look at no people in the audience. I was too afraid to do that. So here's me standing at the clock just singing. And that's what I did, man. I got through it, and that started it all.
Yeah, you remember what song you sang?
Ben.
Ben. That is so cool, man. So once you got done, though, how did you feel then? Once it was all over. I mean, I know you said you were nervous before you did it. You know, you're looking at the clock. But once you got done, and I'm quite sure you heard that nice round of applause, what did all that do for you?
That was cool. I said, wow, man, okay, there's something there.
Yeah.
There's something about this immediate gratification thing. You sing it, people clap or not. In my case, thank God they clapped.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, it was awesome. That was an awesome feeling. And then, of course, I wanted more of that.
Oh, yeah.
So I looked for other songs to sing, and I was involved in, a lot of plays as a kid.
Is that right?
My mother, oh, man, she had me involved in every kind of church play. So I was in the plays singing. And
well, what about the school choir? Did you ever get into that?
Yeah, in grade school, I sung in the choirs there.
Did you?
Yeah, and I had a great music teacher named Ronald Thornhill.
Okay. Who
played piano. So it was great, man. So I spent a lot of time with him singing different songs, and when I found Ben, it just seemed like it just took over my childhood, man. I sang it everywhere.
That was it. Now, there was other things going on in your life other than the singing. You know, everybody had TVs in their house.
Mm-hmm.
What did you like to watch?
Oh man, I was classic. Leave It to Beaver.
Yeah.
The Munsters.
Okay.
Speed Racer. Man, you taking me back.
Yeah, man, that's what we're doing here.
Yeah. Yeah, all the classic, you know, I could say probably the late 60s TV stuff that was on, man. I was totally into it, man.
Yeah. Now we get into junior high school.
Okay.
You still singing at that point?
Junior high, let me think about it. No, junior high, I wasn't really, that's when, 5th or 6th grade, from that point on, sports kind of was overwhelming. So it was kind of sports 1, music 2. Okay. And then things changed. Yeah. Yeah, but mainly because in grade, because I only went to middle school for 1 year. You know, I guess it's what it's Margaret Malines is called. Mm-hmm. But it was here in Hill when I went there. So it was here in Hill. I went there for 1 year and then to high school.
Mm-hmm. Now, there was something about sports that caught your interest, that made you want to get involved with it. You remember what that was?
I like to compete.
Is that
I like to compete. Yeah. I love, to this day, man. I mean, and that's the only in sports do I feel competitive. Mm-hmm. Like in music, I don't have that at all. There's none of that in my musical life. Mm-hmm. I don't know why. Yeah. But anybody that knows me from my childhood know, hey man, you put a number on this guy's chest or back, you might have some problems. Yeah.
So any particular sport that you like the most?
Football and basketball. Yeah. Kind of were the two things that I did most. Mm-hmm. But you know, I love football because at the time, when I was a young kid, I was still more built for that. So I liked that the most, but for some reason, I was really good at basketball. Okay. So, you know, I won an MVP trophy like in the 7th, 8th grade. It was kind of cool. I was MVP of the league. Mm-hmm. That was the 7th grade, I think, because Sam Clancy gave me this big trophy. Okay. You know, I was like, wow, man. I was like, wow, that's Sam Clancy. I was like, mind blown. Like, wow. Because by that time, he was playing for Pitt and just putting Pitt on the map. Mm-hmm. So I was really proud of that, man. I was like, man, wow.
You still had the trophy?
I don't know.
Good question.
Yeah.
Probably going to go home and look for it now.
It's probably deep in some box.
Yeah. Well, what about as far as the football? Did you enjoy playing offense or defense most?
I like offense.
You like the offense?
I like offense. I like. You know, I was a big kid, but I was fast. I mean, I think deceptively fast for my size. Yeah. So I was a running back. And that's what I enjoyed, man. Yeah. I enjoyed doing
running
that.
Into that end zone.
Yeah, well, I liked running into people. It was fun. That's the truth, man. I enjoyed every bit of like the physicality of it. Oh man, and phew.
So high school,
I love that.
You played high school.
High school, I went to high school. I was on the team, but I got hurt.
Oh no.
Yeah, I got a hip pointer, man, and that ended it all because I never ever felt that much pain in my life. I said, well, there must be a better way to have fun because this ain't fun no more.
Well, I know one thing, man. You are a phenomenal musician, and something happened in your life that caught your interest as far as music. When we come back, would you tell us about that?
Sure.
Ladies and gentlemen, stick and stay and don't go away. We'll be right back with Mr. Dwayne Dolphin.
Pass the peas, pass the peas, pass the peas, like they used to say. Come on, pass the peas, pass the peas, pass the peas, like they used to say. Why don't you pass the peas, pass the peas, pass the peas, like we used to say. Come on, now pass the peas, pass the peas, pass the peas, like we used to. Keep on. Let's ready to get down. Some more. Let's give me some more. Let's give me some more. Let's give me some more. Give me. Let's give me some more. 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 Come on, let's give me some more. Let's give me some more. Come on, come on. Let's give me some more. We gonna do the bridge and come right back to this, okay? Bridge, come right back to it. Come on. Give me some more. Just give me some more. Horns again. Horns. Let's give me some more. Let's give me some more. Let's give me some more. Now we do the bridge again. Then I got it. All right, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. All right, thank you, thank you. Everybody having a good time? All right. Is everybody having a real good time? Well, let's have a funky good time. I want everybody to sing now, come on. Everybody sing, come on. We're gonna have a funky good time. 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 Take a look. We gotta take you high. Sing it again, here we go. We're gonna have a funky good time. 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 Take a bus. We gotta take it high. Everybody sing. We gotta take it high. Gentlemen, we have in the house one of the funkiest tenor players in the whole wide world. Ernie Fields Jr. Give him a big round of applause, yeah. No, Fred. I have to get down in D, and this is not D. In D? In D, D, down in D. You mean like down D? Down D. Funky D. Funky D. Dirty D. Dirty D. We going to D. Hey, Ernie. What? Can we go all the way? Yes, we can go all the way. We want to go all the way. Come on, y'all. All the way. 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 Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. We're very proud to have been here for your last 30 years of jazz and cousins, okay? Thank you very much for having me there last night. One more time for Ernie Fields Jr., Harry Kim, Reggie Ward, Vince Evans, Dwayne Dolphin, and Bruce Cox. Thank you very much. Fred! Funky Fred! Fred! Fred Wesley, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much, Judge.
Fred.
All right. Thank you very much, and we are out of here. Thank you very much. Good night, everybody.
For those of you just joining us, you are missing it. Take a seat and kick your shoes off. We're here with the legendary Mr. Dwayne Dolphin. Now, before we went to the break, we were talking about your earlier years in your sports, and you had gotten hurt with the sports. Mm-hmm. But we also know that you're an international musician. Mm-hmm. And so what was it about music that actually caught your interest and made you want to get into music?
Well, easy. My brother, my oldest brother, Freddie, he played guitar. He still plays guitar.
Yeah, I played with him.
Yeah.
I played with him, y'all.
Yeah, so he got this beautiful, shiny new guitar, never get, man. And he brought it home, Gibson Les Paul Deluxe, gold, beautiful. And he stuck it under the bed. Mm. But for some reason, he had to go. He had to leave. I don't know what he had to do, but I pulled it out from under the bed, and I was trying it, and I said, wow, man, this thing hurts my ears. And he came upstairs and he caught me playing his brand new guitar. Mm-mm. And my brother was different, man. He wasn't the kind of older brother to get angry. He said, hey, man, you like it? I said, nah, man. He said, what's wrong? I said, this thing is too high pitched, man. He said, I'm going to get you a bass. So he got me a bass off of one of his friends, like $10, and had 3 strings on it.
When it should have had 4.
And I played that thing for a while, and then the turning point, that was the initial thing with an instrument for me. I mean, the initial bass with the bass. Yeah. And then the turning point was, he gave me the bass when I was 10. I got that when I was 10. Okay. When I was 12, I was playing. So for those 2 years, just playing. But it wasn't really serious because, like I said, there was always sports in my life. But when I turned 12, my father passed away.
Oh, okay. Sorry to hear that.
And the bass took on another meaning when my father passed away. It became my friend. And probably more importantly, my therapist. Okay. And then once I developed that relationship with the instrument, that was it. Mm-hmm. I still feel exactly the same way I did that day that I feel right now.
Is that right?
Yep, I love the bass.
Now, what was your practice regimen back there in the beginning years, man? I mean, did you pick it up every day, or did you? I mean, what was it like? I mean, did you just every now and then was this kind of like nonchalant, or was you like gung ho about it?
No, I loved it. I mean, when I turned 12, like I said, that turning point, it changed. It was like I was like Linus with the blanket. Mm-hmm. I was in my comfort zone if I was touching it in some kind of way. Okay. So I practiced. I couldn't even tell you. I don't have an hourly thing because I spent that much time with the instrument. I just loved it. I liked the way it sounded. I liked the way it felt. I said, wow, this is deep, you know? And then I became, like all of us, I just became so intrigued with it. Mm-hmm. I was like, man, trying to figure out what it could do. Every time I make a new sound with it, I say, oh my Lord, this is interesting. Mm-hmm. And next thing I know, I'm here in front of your camera. How'd that happen?
Yeah. Well, see, here's the thing. You was doing that because you loved it.
Right.
But at that stage, you really didn't know that you was actually laying down the foundation for what you're doing now.
No clue.
And who you are now. You know
no
what I mean? And that's what I like to say to like the younger musicians, the importance of, practicing. Pick up your instrument. Make it become your best friend. Mm-hmm. Establish a relationship with that and spend the time with it.
Right.
Because later on in life, see, you're going to benefit from it because you built that foundation. Now, you were 12 years old and you were still in school. So did you play in the school band at all with the bass guitar?
Let's see, 12. Did I play in the band?
Yeah, in the school
band. Well, no, maybe not in the school band, but I played some because back then we didn't have like bands. We didn't have like combos, I should say. Okay. There was like the orchestra, and but there were small groups that you could go and play like a modern tune, so to speak. Mm-hmm. So I guess and plus the other thing too, again, being that environment of the Hill District, I was hearing other bands all the time. So for me, I was getting that part outside of school. Mm-hmm. So like I remember hearing the Deltones.
Yeah, Ronnie Biggs.
That's right. And being around those guys, man, like I was like a fly on the wall and just learning everything I could from those guys and the way and Ronnie was a really big influence in terms of, I watched him, man, he was a great band leader. Yeah. He put that thing together, man. It was just awesome how he did. Gave everybody their parts. I would watch him do this, and I'd watch him play, and I was like, "Wow, man! I got a bass just like his." In fact, when my mother finally bought me a bass, it was worth anything. Yeah, yeah. Those things, those experiences had a real big impact. Right. I mean, I really didn't know what was going on then. I was just observing it all, mm-hmm. And then my brother Freddie. Right. Was playing in a band with Winston Carter. Okay, yeah. I forget what was the name of that band back then. They called themselves the Midtown Funk Company. Okay. And they rehearsed in my grandmother's basement. Mm-hmm. How convenient. Yeah. I just went downstairs and watched them. Mm-hmm. Listen and learn, Yeah.
Now, up to this point, had you started reading music yet? Up to that point yet? Or you was pretty much just playing by ear?
I was playing by ear.
Yeah.
Definitely playing by ear back then. I wasn't even thinking about, I didn't think about music that way at all. Because I was around it, so I was so busy listening and trying to learn it from what I was seeing and hearing that reading didn't come into play in my life until a lot later.
Yeah, because during our conversation, I didn't hear you mention anything about a teacher. So up until this point, you pretty much was teaching yourself everything that you were learning up to that point?
That's correct.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, how would you know a D from an A from a, just from listening and observing your surroundings and putting it all together, man? That's pretty remarkable.
Well, I'll give you this, man. This is something that nobody would know. This is interesting. You say that. I took a piece of paper, mm-hmm. 2 of them. They're about this long, this thick. And I wrote the notes out on the bass, on the neck of the bass. I had 2 charts. I had one on my ceiling, on my bedroom wall. So when I laid down, I could learn the neck of the bass. Mm-hmm. I had another chart on this wall. So if I'm laying down, I'm figuring out the neck, and then when I sat up, bam, there was a chart again. So I was always kind of just trying to figure that out. And, you know, not having a teacher, that's what I had to do. Yeah. So I did that for a long time. Then it got to the point where I looked up and I snatched the paper down because I could see it now.
Yeah.
I didn't need to physically see it anymore. I could see it in my mind. And that's basically how I taught myself the neck.
Right.
And then I had to figure out the notes. You know, first it was learn the neck, learn where the notes are, and then I started to understand it, okay, this note sounds like this. This is a G, or this is an F. You know, that kind of stuff. I didn't have a clue. Right. You know, and then I had some teachers.
Now, when you finally snatched that chart down and you realized that you got it, you didn't need it anymore, how old was you about then? Are you still a teenager? Or? Oh,
about
okay.
14 maybe.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty good. So up until that point, had you said to yourself, well, you know, this is what I want to do? I mean, I want to play for the Jackson 5, or were you thinking on those lines yet, or you were still just having fun?
I'm having a blast. And then I had one other crazy thing happen that let me know that this kind of steered me deeper into it. Is my high school teacher, Ken Cook. And this is what he said to me. And you can't say crazy things to stupid people. This is what happens. He gave me Miles Davis Kinda Blue. He called me Dolph. He said, Dolph, you need to learn this. I said, okay. And this is what he said. Dolph, you need to learn this. Okay. So that's what I did. I learned the record. So when I came back to school, he said, hey, man, could you play some of that record that you've been checking out? I said, yeah. So I played it. He said, what's that? I said, this is Miles Davis's solo on such and such. He said, no, I wanted you to learn the bass parts. That's not what you told me. You told me to learn the record.
Right.
So I was trying to learn all the parts. And my family can tell this story better than I can. In that process, he gave me that record on Friday after school. And I stayed up all weekend learning that record. Because the more I was learning, the more I got intrigued with it. And it was just like in a movie, man, where like my mother knocked on the door and, my mom's face comes through and my brother's faces are up here at the crack of the door. They're like, is this cat all right? And I said, what's going on? He said, man, it's time to go to school. It was Monday. Yeah. I was in there the whole weekend trying to figure that out. But it was a labor of love. It wasn't. Right. I wasn't working at all. Right.
You was engulfed. You were like in your zone.
In the zone.
Yeah. That's beautiful. That's beautiful, man. Well, I know up until Miles Davis is jazz.
Oh yeah.
Have you been listening to like R&B? Did any R&B groups or R&B bass players influence you at that point?
Good question. I guess there were. I mean, the obvious guys like Verdine White.
Earth, Wind and Fire.
Earth, Wind and Fire. So I knew who he was, but I didn't really know a lot of bass players per se. I knew groups, but I didn't know, I hadn't singled out players yet. I wasn't at that point yet. And I just was going by, flying by the seat of my pants, man. Whatever I heard, it was interesting. If it was funk, it was cool. I learned whatever I was trying to learn from that. But then you have to understand my household. My father played jazz constantly. My father, just to give you an idea, my father was born in 1916.
Okay.
My mother was born in 1926. So the music of their life was jazz. Right. So my dad played Wes Montgomery and Jimmy Smith separately. And then when they played together, it was even better. Right. So I heard a lot of organ music. My father listened to tons of organ music. That was his thing. My mother listened to Mahalia Jackson and all the gospel stuff. Right. So all that was happening all at one time. My older brother Freddie, who played guitar, man, he was listening to rock, man. He was listening to Richie Blackmore, and I heard Smoke on the Water before I even knew what was going on with music.
Deep Purple.
Yeah, Deep Purple, listen to that. And then And then my other brother, Billy, he was like the modern guy. Whatever was current is what he liked.
Okay.
So I had all of those different things happening in the same house at the same time and had no clue what effect that would have on me if I decided to become a musician. Because this time I haven't decided to do anything.
No, are you the youngest?
Yes.
Yeah, baby brother, you were sucking all that in,
Sucking it up.
That was good, man. That was good. Well, look here. When we come back, I know at some point, man, you got with a you know, because there was local bands, man, all over the place, man, back in the day. Because there was always some place to play, man. Everybody had a band somewhere, and I know you was jamming with them too. So when we come back, would you tell us about that?
Sure.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back with Mr. Dwayne Dolphin. Don't go nowhere. Hi, my name is Timmy Willis, and we're here with Mr. Dwayne Dolphin, all the way from all over the world, man. He's one of the original Globetrotters, and we're going to talk about that a little later on. But before we went to the break, we were talking about all the different bands. Local bands was back like even in the 70s, man. There was bands all over the north side and East Liberty, the Hill District, man. I mean, Homewood. I mean, everywhere you go, man, there was a band. Everybody was singing and playing. And there was at some point, man, you got in one of them bands. And which one was it? And do you remember what that what experience was like for you?
Well, I'll tell you one thing I remember real vivid was playing a gig with the Deltones.
Oh, okay.
I played one gig with them at the 2001.
Yeah.
And that was a long time ago because I think Ronnie Biggs was away at school, and they needed somebody to come in and play for him. And the good thing was, and I'm thank God for this, he actually came back. So we did the gig together.
Oh, wow.
So I remember that because I kind of needed somebody to hold my hand through this thing anyway. I was so glad to see him. I was like, Lord, thank you, Jesus. So the Deltones, I just played that one gig with, and when I told you I listened to them since I was knee-high to a grasshopper, which was cool. But no, I still wasn't in any bands yet until I got with this guy named Pete Henderson.
Pete Henderson, trumpet player.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I credit him for a whole bunch of stuff because he was the hardest band leader I have ever worked with in my entire life. Mm-hmm. He's the one single-handedly that laid all the groundwork because he was so tough to work for. Mm-hmm. He accepted nothing but excellence, period.
Yeah.
And he would tell you while you were doing it that you were messing up the music. He would tell you when you got done playing the music that you were messing up the music and that you needed to go and practice and fix it.
Right.
Or you won't be playing here. And I admire that. That was the best musical tough love I've ever got, and I love Pete Henderson to this day because of the way he was. And it's so funny because guys like him set the bar. This is what you're shooting for, son. It's got to be this, or you're not going to have a career at this.
Mm-hmm. So who else was in that group with you at that time?
Man.
I remember a name, Dickie Lawrence and Spencer Bay comes to mind. I don't know if they were there then when you were there.
You nailed it. So it was Spencer Bay, Dickie Lilly.
Yeah, Dickie Lilly.
Roger Humphreys.
Okay.
Myself, Pete Henderson.
Yeah.
It was wonderful.
Yeah.
That was a training camp.
Yeah. Playing with that caliber of musicians, man, it could do nothing but catapult you even further from where you were at. So I can see how you really appreciate and really enjoyed that musical situation.
Absolutely, man. I mean, I can't tell, like the young kids now, they consider me to be tough. And I am. Because I understood why Pete Henderson was so tough at the end of the day. At the end of the day, it was like, when you got it, Pete Henderson was like the tiger that was on my back, and you got to do this, you got to do that. And he stayed like that for years. He never let up until I began to get it. And then all of that switched from tough love to real love. Mm-hmm. Like, well done. And man, to get an approval from him was like getting it from Obama. It was big, man. He said, Dwayne, great, man. I'm like, oh my God, I pleased him. Wow. But it took a lot of work before he would even begin to even think to compliment you.
Right. Well, that's to keep you working.
That's right.
Yeah, that's to keep you working. Now, how long did you stay with that group, and then where did you go from there?
I don't know. I kind of bounced around a little bit. There was so many different people playing at the time.
Right.
There was a guy here named Jothan Callens who went to the University of Pittsburgh to get his ethnomusicology degree. And also in that lot came Jothan Callens, James Johnson Sr., Jerry Allen, Kenny Powell, and Lee Robinson was around at that time as well. So I worked a lot with Lee Robinson in the early years, and a lot of different players. I worked a lot with George Hyatt, and there was a lot of people around at the time that were just incredible.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I know that you play with a lot of national recording artists too. What was your first experience when you, like, the first time maybe you left the United States to play music? You remember the first time that ever happened for you and who it was with?
10th grade.
Yeah?
10th grade, I went to the island of Guadeloupe.
Okay.
With Nathan Davis.
Nathan Davis. 10th grade.
10th grade.
Wow.
That did it. That was it. Because, I mean, just to actually, to see something, to see a different culture, I thought, man, maybe this music thing ain't really all so bad. Maybe there's something to this. But I never thought, because you never dream from the time you pick up an instrument, at least I didn't. You pick up this instrument, like I said, as a 10-year-old kid, and all of a sudden, if you practice it, and all of a sudden it could be that ticket out to the world. It never dawned on me that way.
Yeah.
Because I was just loving what I was doing, having fun,
right,
and being a kid. So what did I know, man? I never thought that it would, like, take me to, I feel like Captain Kirk, take me the places you've never gone before.
Yeah. That's cool, man. Now, I also know that you play the upright bass.
Right.
Also with the electric bass. Now, when did that come into your life, the upright? And what made you want to play that one as well?
Well, I was at Tony Campbell's house. He played this record for me. It was Cannonball Adderley live at the Lighthouse. And I heard this guy playing his bass. I said, oh, my God. And, by that time, I was playing electric bass, and I knew, like, slide, boo, do, 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 do. Yeah. So I never really played past here on the bass. And here was this guy I listened to on this record, his playing all over the instrument.
All over the neck.
I said, what is he doing, man? And I knew at that minute, I want to do that. It was Sam Jones playing bass. And that was part of the switch to upright, because I was playing a little bit of it in 8th grade. And then, again, Jerry Allen, who's moving here, moving back here to teach, she also gave me an ultimatum playing with her. She said, Wayne, if you want to play with me, you're going to have to play the big bass. And I said, oh, Lord. I remember bringing that thing on the gig, and my hands were bleeding. And I said, wow. So I couldn't even make it through a whole gig playing. I have to play it upright for maybe a song or two, then play my electric bass, and kept switching back and forth so my hands could make it through the gig.
Wow.
So that was the turning point.
Yeah. No. Well, obviously, you got your own upright bass at some point. What was that experience like? I mean, when you finally decided to get your own, I mean, where did you go to look for one? And when you found one, man, what did that do for you? Tell us about that, what that experience was like.
Man, I bought a bass off of Leon Dorsey.
Leon Dorsey, yeah. We went to school together, man.
I bought a bass from him for $300. And it was the best thing and the worst thing that ever happened to me, because it was a $300 bass. It was worth it was probably worth about $200. And I played this thing up until I moved to New York. And I took this bass to New York, and then Jeff Watts, Tane Watts,
drummer, yeah.
Yeah, he did me a great favor. Went and asked him to take the bass back to the house.
Wynton Marsalis?
Yeah.
Okay.
Asked him to take the bass back to the house. And you're going through those things in those turnstiles in the subway.
Right.
And Jeff put a nice, beautiful, big hole in it. And he was like, man, I'm sorry, man. I don't know how to carry no bass. I didn't know what I was doing, blah, blah, blah. And that was the best and worst thing that ever happened, because the bass was god awful, and I'm glad that Jeff took me out of my misery.
So obviously you replaced it.
I replaced it.
Yeah. Now, where did you get this one at? Sam Ash or what?
No, there were guys around here. There was a guy around here, I'm trying to think of his name, Bruce Wallace.
Okay.
Who had a bass shop in his house.
Wow.
So all the local guys here would literally buy their basses from him. And he was one of the things. So when I found out, they said, man, you gotta go to Bruce Wallace and get a bass. And sure enough, even the bass that I have now was so interesting, man. I had Bruce had this bass on the table. He was working on it. It had been in his house for like 20 years. On the wall, he ain't touched it.
Wow.
And I was looking for a bass. I walked down the steps, and he was pulling the bass off of the bench like this. And he reached out to like this. I grabbed it, bam. It's the bass I'm playing now.
That's it.
It found
like
me.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Bass found me. I'm easy.
Yeah, I see. That's amazing. That's amazing. So I heard you mention, because in 1983 I moved to New York City.
Okay.
Playing drums, and I heard you mention that you also moved to New York City. What was that experience like for you?
That was deep. That was deep. I moved there by way of Boston. I went up there. I was real naive. You know, I wanted to go. I didn't know that you had to apply to school and all that kind of stuff, to college. But I knew this. I knew that the best players that played jazz were all at Berklee School of Music. I knew that much. So I wanted to go up there just to see what that was all about and to see if I could get into school some kind of way. And lo and behold, I go up there, and you know, there was always a need for bass players. And I happened to sit in this band, and Don Alico Jr. was in this band. Okay. And there were a couple other Pittsburgh guys up there at the time. And the guy offered me a full ride to Berklee.
Wow.
And I said, how lucky can a guy be? And before I could even really accept it, he took me right down to admissions and everything and said, I got you covered, buddy. Don't worry about it. I got you. I said, cool. So I got on there, and by the time we went through all that process, I was playing around Boston with this guy named Tim Williams, who wound up playing with Art Blakey.
Okay. And
he was like, I mean, this guy was like my agent. I played a gig with him. He was like telling everybody, man, you need to get this cat. You need to get this cat. Next thing I know, man, cat's calling me on the phone to come to New York.
Okay.
And I'd been there like 2 or 3 days. So the only wild part about it was me kind of tell this to my mother as this is happening in real time. Yeah. You know, I'm telling her, Mom, I'm in Boston. Oh, Mom, you can believe this. I got accepted to school. She's like, man, baby, that's great. Then I have to call her back in a couple of days. Mom, I'm in New York. She said, wow, you must have learned a lot in a couple of days.
Yeah. That's pretty cool, man. Now, wait a minute. Now, but what did you do at Berklee? I mean, you moved to New York, but did you come back and forth, or that
No.
You didn't do the Berklee thing?
No, I didn't do it at all. Once I left Boston, that was it. That's when I got the gig with Wynton.
Yeah, Wynton Marsalis.
Yeah, so there was, and then when I left him, he was even encouraging me, man. He said, man, you didn't want to go back to school. I'm thinking to myself, I'm just as poor as I was 2 weeks ago than I am now. I said, I'm not going back to Boston. You know, I got to make it some kind of way, man. I got to support myself. I got to figure it out. So school was not an option for me at that point. Yeah. I was in it.
Now, what was that like playing for Wynton Marsalis, man?
Great. I mean, at the time, you know, we're talking 1982. He was the biggest thing in jazz. It was Miles Davis and the masters who were still around, and then we were like the resurgence of the music. I don't know how they kind of put that on us. Maybe I don't know how or why. Maybe because jazz was kind of taking a back seat to whatever new music was coming up at the time. But I know, so they kind of put us out here on Front Street, which was nice, and I just happened to be with the guy that they chose to put on Front Street. So it was nice to be with him, and he was totally cool. Yeah. We had our ups and downs within the band, you know, he and I, but it was wonderful. Yeah.
Well, you got a chance to play outside the country?
With Wynton?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
No, I wasn't traveling outside the country then.
Okay.
You know, other than my experience with Nathan. But but the good thing with Wynton was, and this is the thing that really, this was the game changer. The game changer with him was, I never recorded with him because I wasn't there long enough. I got there the last day of his first recording. Okay. So his debut album, I got there that day. They were finishing up, and I was going, wow, okay, you're unlucky there. But the good news was, with him, was not within weeks of me joining the band. We went to California and we recorded on the Tonight Show.
Oh, okay.
And that was better than recording on the record.
Yeah.
You know, you can have, I guess, what was it? I guess big record sales back then was, if you were a jazz artist, you could sell 100,000 copies, you were doing good. Mm-hmm. But if you're playing on TV, you're looking at millions of people.
Right.
So that kind of started my career, so to speak.
Yeah.
And I was lucky enough that the piano player couldn't make the gig. So it was just bass, drums, trumpet, saxophone. Mm-hmm. So the only harmonic instrument in the band was me.
Was you. Yeah.
So it kind of drew attention to the bass.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you, Jesus. And that kind of started the whole ball rolling.
Yeah, just like when you got that album and you learned all the parts. See, it come back again. See, just you and the drums, and you already was down with how to play more than just the bass line. Mm-hmm. You was putting that other stuff in there too. Now, so you met Johnny Carson?
No, that particular show.
Or was he gone then?
He was there, but Bill Cosby was the host that night.
Bill Cosby. Did you shake his hand?
Oh, yeah.
Which hand did you shake it with?
This one.
Let me shake your hand. Ooh, yeah, boy. That had to have been exciting, man. What's going through your mind, man, while all this stuff is going on, man? I mean, you know, you thinking your brother, man, he got you this bass, man, and you know, all these things start developing, and now, man, boom, you got accepted to Berkeley, and boom, I'm in New York, I'm in Marcellus, I'm in California, Johnny Carson show. What's going on, man, with you?
Well, I guess I could put it the best way is my mother's reaction.
Yeah.
Because you got to understand, I'm like 18 years old, so I'm telling my mother, hey, Mom, I'm in Boston. My mother's going, okay. Mom, I'm in New York. Mm-hmm. So you got to love this one. So I called my mother when we played 2 concerts. We played the Great American Hall in San Francisco, mm-hmm. and then we went to L.A. to play we taped the Carson show, and then we played the Roxy that night. And so now I'm in California. I call my mother in San Francisco, and I say, hey, Mom, I'm in San Francisco. She goes, ooh, baby, that's far away. So then we do the taping of the Tonight Show. Of course, my family, my friends see that. I call my mother. I said, Mom, what you think? She said, this is classic, my mother. She said, baby, I don't know what you're doing, but you keep on doing it.
It had to be proud of you, man.
Wow. But that's the best way I could describe what was going on, man, because it was all happening so fast. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't really even, thinking about it. It was just happening, and I was just in it. And glad I was there, because I knew something big was about to happen with Wynton's career. Right. Because at this time, nobody really knew him. Mm-hmm. And that's what I tell people that, they go, that's hard for them to believe because he's so well known. Right. But at that time, man, he was just coming along like everybody else. So it was a beautiful wave to ride on. This guy becoming this and you being a part of it and everything. It was exciting. Yeah. Exciting times. Yeah,
it sounds like it. Well, when we come back, man, I know you've had an opportunity to play with a lot of international musicians. Mm-hmm. Maybe you could share some of those experiences with us when we come back? Ladies and gentlemen, don't go nowhere. Stick and stay. Take a slurp from a jug. We'll be right back with Dwayne Dolphin.
anybody. Ooh, breaking bread with my mama, breaking bread with my mama, breaking bread. Yeah. Hey, Dwayne. Where's Dwayne? Do people in Pittsburgh break bread the way we do it? This is Dwayne Dolphin from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Give him a big round of applause. Do people in Pittsburgh break bread the same way we do it in Mobile, Alabama? I'm Fred Wesley from Mobile, Alabama. Give me a big round of applause. Thank you very much. Do people in Pittsburgh break bread the same way we do in Mobile, Alabama? Well, show us how does it look. Show us how does it. Show us how does it sound. You know. Dwayne Dolphin from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're here with the international recording artist, Mr. Dwayne Dolphin. We're talking on our journey here. I happen to know that you've played with, in fact, most of the big names in the business. I was just wondering if maybe if you could share with some of who those were and what was some of those experiences like for you.
Okay, I'm gonna try to keep my tears back. The first person I think of that really, somebody that really touched me is Stanley Turrentine.
Okay.
He's one because, I mean, he's everything you want to be in a jazz musician. I mean, he's a sound innovator, for one. But everything that came out of his horn was just from his heart. Every single note. So it was just interesting to be around somebody, man, who could just, well, I could actually feel his soul when I played with him. You know, I'm like, wow, man, this guy is this in tune with the instrument, with music, with the universe, with life. And that's what came out of his horn.
Mm-hmm. Well, who else? Who else you got for us?
I might need some help because I'm just blank.
Okay.
Wynton.
Yeah.
Pharaoh Saunders, he's another one.
Pharaoh,
another one that touched me deep.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the band that I learned the most from was Hank Crawford.
Hank Crawford, you played with Hank Crawford?
Hank Crawford was the dude for me.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, it was like with Wynton, everything was very jet set, 5-star hotels, wonderful. With Hank Crawford, it was Greyhound, Motel 6.
Yeah.
And all those, and a lot of traveling, and it was nice. I was in a band. This is just crazy. So it's Hank Crawford, Joe Dukes on drums.
Joe Dukes, yeah.
Calvin Newborn, which is Phineas Newborn Jr.'s brother. He's one of the greatest pianists of jazz all time. And me, it's like, okay, how do you get him with? But they allowed me in the group. They nurtured me, man. They brought me in, man, treated me great. Mm-hmm. And in that group in particular was where everything happened in terms of, all the work ethics that young people need to really learn.
Mm-hmm.
I knew, see, in Wynton's band was one thing. We were all young kids. We're all the same status. In this band, no. I am the young guy, and these are the masters. It's clear. So it put me in work mode. So all I did in that band was practice. 3 years practice. And I'll tell you a great story of motivation. We played this first year, this club, I think it was in Louisville, Kentucky. It was this guy, he's dressed up with his wife, got a suit on, he's cool. He goes down the list after we played the gig, he goes, Hank, man, I think I done had 2 kids listening to your music. It's beautiful, man. I love the way you play. And he complimented all those masters appropriately. And he got to me, he said, young man, you can play, but you can't make that bass talk.
Is that what he said?
That's what he said to me. So what happened? I packed up my bass quietly. I cried all the way back to the hotel. It was perfect. It was raining. It was just like in a movie. Mm-hmm. I'm walking back to the hotel and my feelings were hurt. I said, oh man. But there was a thing, Tim. I knew he was right. So I worked my butt off that year practicing. And here's the beauty. They booked Hank Crawford that week in that club every year. Mm-hmm. So he had the same week, year later. We come back. Those guys play their butts off like they normally do. Same guy comes back here, Hank. Different suit, same wife.
Yeah, good.
He comes back, tells everybody the same thing. Oh, Hank, I love the way you play. Tell the guys, man, that's great. Got to me, said, young man, you talking, baby.
Okay.
That was like a major breakthrough. So I didn't say anything. I packed up my bass. I went back. I cried all the way back to the hotel. And I guess the point I'm trying to make is oftentimes, you kind of wait for a musician to give you that kind of, this is what you've accomplished and give you this affirmation. Right. Didn't come from a musician. It came from just a regular old guy. Right. And what that man didn't understand, he didn't know, and why it affected me so deeply was I practiced a whole year for him. Mm-hmm. He didn't know that. Yeah. Just by what he told me.
Right. And fade off. That is so cool. Now look here, man. I know that you have also worked with James Brown's boy,
Fred
Mr.
Maceo.
You played with Maceo Parker. Mm-hmm. What was that experience like for you?
Funky.
Yeah. Getting down with the funk.
Oh man, Maceo, man. I mean, that's his, if you want to get in the funk, that's it. You're at the apex now. Yeah. I mean, it's a big fun, man, because Maceo's a good guy, and these guys just love what they do. It's just beautiful working with him. Yeah. And Pee Wee and Fred, Fred.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. You also worked with Fred Wesley
for the last 20 years.
Yeah. So matter of fact, I had a chance to witness Wayne with Mr. Fred Wesley, Tom Brown, and Pamela Williams at the Kelly Strayhorn, and whoever missed it, y'all missed a good one. And you was jamming, man. But here's the thing that it impresses me about you, man, is you make it look so effortless, man. It's just like, you ever see a car, man, you put it on cruise control, but it's like doing 120. You know what I mean? And that's the way you play, man. And I'm like, it don't even look like you're really doing anything, but when you're hearing and what you're seeing, it ain't matching up. Because what I'm hearing, man, I'm expecting somebody to be, but you're just like, it's just so smooth and effortless the way you play, man. I really enjoyed your playing.
Well, I appreciate that. I just think that's just, just years behind the instrument. Yeah. And I believe in order to play your best, you have to relax. Mm-hmm. If you're like real tensed up, it's kind of hard to play. Yeah. So I think just my years of experience, caused that. Plus, again, it's something my dad used to always say too. It's like my dad used to say, there's nothing like somebody that can do something and make it look easy. But I guess that all comes when you've practiced, mm-hmm. and you are comfortable with the instrument, the people, and the music. Yeah. So I guess it's a combination of things. So I guess all the time paid off, Tim.
It did, man. reminds me of Muhammad Ali, man, how he used to knock people out and it made it look effortless and made it look pretty and all that kind of stuff, man. But people, they don't really know, man, how many hours this dude practiced and all that, you know what I mean, in order to get it that way. But a mutual friend of ours, Mr. Norman Gregg Humphreys, who just happens to be the drum instructor at the University of Pittsburgh. Yeah, he's a bad boy. But he was telling me about, he said they overseas, man, they have like billboards, man, with your picture on them, man. These people love you overseas, man. And what is that experience like when you go over there and receive the way that you're received over there?
It's awesome. I mean, it's an awesome feeling that people can appreciate years of practice. And I think another thing I love about when people, I get off on the fact that people can appreciate the years of the travel, the stuff that you don't see. You know, you can see a lot of things on the stage. You're seeing the final product, but you're not seeing what I went through this week.
Or on the way to the gig.
On the way to the gig, man. I mean, it's so hard, man. You know, you traveling all these long hours. You're getting very little sleep. You know, at this point, there's not a lot of time to practice now because all your effort is getting to the gig and then trying to conserve as much energy as you can to give the performance that people paid for. Because that's the bottom line. People, I know that. I know that people don't care if I travel 3,000 miles to come there. All they want to know is, okay, I paid my money, be wonderful.
Right. But it seems like the people overseas, to me, it always seems like they really appreciate artistic value more than they do here in the United States, man. They really appreciate an artist's like their performance. It seems like they really recognize the top-notch stuff and really appreciate it, man, over there. Have you experienced that same thing, or is that just me and my crazy thing?
No. You're absolutely right. Because again, you got to understand, man, the United States is a very young country compared to Europe. I mean, they've experienced everything from Jesus to Hitler that happened over there. So for them, they've had enough time to really weed out what's really good and what's really important. So they do things in a different manner. They appreciate, they understand that what it takes to become a jazz musician. They understand that the hours of dedication is taken. Because it's funny, like even nowadays, a lot of our good friends of jazz are mainly physicians because they're scientists in what they do, but they understand how difficult it must be to do what we do because we do it spontaneously. They understand there's got to be some serious preparation to be able to do that. Practice and all the grind, the hard work it takes to become that thing. Because these guys, they know how to connect the dots because they've studied the body and it's a science for them. But for us, they don't understand, what they can't understand is, how do you do this off of the top of your head every night and be good at it? You know, and that's the trick. Yeah. The trick is to get so comfortable with it and to learn it till you get it down to the point where you can do it every night and you're creative about it and make it make sense. Right. You know. But the bottom line is, for me, I always think of it like this, man. My job is to pick up my instrument and make people feel good. Right. Very, very simple. Play and try to make your instrument communicate to the point where it's connecting to human beings from soul to soul, as opposed to ear. Because it's nothing like, you know, the biggest compliment I ever been played. I never this lady, she walked up to me after this concert one time and she said, "That was it."
That's it.
And I said, "She got it."
Say no more.
She got it.
Yeah. Now, you still you still performing with Roger Humphrey's RX Factor on Thursdays at CJ?
Yes, I am. I'll be
when you're in the country.
Yeah, I'll be playing with Roger till they throw dirt in somebody's face. Yeah, because I mean he's he's the epitome of what jazz is.
Right.
He embodies everything. Everything you want to know about jazz, if you live in the city of Pittsburgh and you want to know, don't let me tell it to you. Let Roger play his drums and you'll get it.
Right. I totally agree. Now, let me ask you this. Is there anything that you have not done yet that you still would like to do?
You're good at this. You've done this before.
A time or two.
Something I haven't done I like to do. Well, it's certain musicians I like to play with. I like to have that opportunity. And it just never happened. One musician in particular, I'd love to play with Herbie Hancock.
Herbie Hancock.
Yeah, he's intriguing to me.
Yeah.
Because he's good at everything.
You hear that, Herbie?
He's good at everything. Yeah. Any kind of music you put in front of this guy, he comes out on top. Jazz, funk, doesn't matter. Classical, doesn't matter what it is.
Right.
You know, he's just that kind of musician. And the other guy I really wanted to work with, had the opportunity, which that's gone now, is George Duke.
George Duke. I had a feeling he was going to say that.
Yeah, I love these musicians who, I like, there's something about the jazz musician that plays jazz and funk. I don't know what it is about them that appeals to me, but it always has. Before I even knew what I was going to do, I could just hear, like, those guys got something extra in their music, you know. And Herbie Hancock and George Duke has those elements. Right. I would love to play with Herbie because he's still around. So, yeah, like you said, you can say Herbie.
Yeah, Herbie. You listening?
like we used to say. Come on, pass the peace. Breaking bread with my mama, breaking bread with my mama, breaking bread. Breaking bread with my mama, breaking bread with my mama, breaking bread. Pass the peas, pass the peas, pass the peas, like we used to say. Come on, pass the peas. Say what? Pass the peas. I can't hear. Pass the peas, like we used to say. Come on, pass the peas, pass the peas, pass the peas, like we used to say. Come on, pass the peas, pass the peas, pass the peas, like pass.
good time out there? Well, let's get together and have a funky good time. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. I want everybody to sing now. Come on. Here we go. We're gonna have a funky good time. 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 Take a look. We gotta take it higher. Yeah. We gotta take it higher. Yeah, we're on up there, baby. Come on up. Little more. We gotta have a funky good time. We gonna have a funky good time. We gonna have a funky good time. We gonna have a funky good time. Take a look. We gotta take it higher. We gotta take it higher. Ladies and gentlemen, we have one of the funkiest tenor players in the whole wide world with us tonight. Ernie Fields Jr. Give him a big round of applause.
Come on, excuse me, Fred. No. I only get down in D, you know that. Like Maceo gets down in D.
In D.
Pee Wee gets down in D.
In D.
In D.
In D.
Only in D, yeah, down D.
You mean like a down D,
Down D.
funky D,
Funky D.
dirty D,
Dirty D.
dirty D. All the way. Let me go all the way.
All the way.
All the way.
All the way.
Here we go. All the way.
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 Now, let me ask you this. When you look back on all of this, do you have any regrets?
Yeah, there will be some, because the one thing about this, unfortunately, when you play music, you don't have any choice in it in terms of if you're really if you can play it on a high level, then music chooses you. You don't really have no say over it. I wish I could have been, home a little more in terms of, just a family thing, to be around my kids more. But it's a funny thing, man, when it's a double-edged sword. It's something that you love and something you have to do because it's the only thing that you do.
Right.
So how else do you support yourself? So something has to give, and sometimes I think the whole family structure it suffers. I think because Daddy's always on the road. Daddy's gone.
Right.
Daddy, he supports us. He supports us from over there.
Right.
And that's tough.
Yeah.
That's tough.
Yeah. Now, here's what I like to find out from you at this particular moment. Is there anything that we have not talked about that you would like people to know about you?
I guess they know. In fact, you can know more about me through the music than I could ever tell you. Mm-hmm. If you listen to what we do Thursday night, my records.
I mean, yeah, and you're on a ton of recordings. We didn't even talk about the recordings.
Yeah, I guess that's the best. That's a big part of who I am and what I am. Mm-hmm. I don't think we have time enough on the show for me to try to explain that part of me. I think that you'll get to know me a lot better if you listen to my music, because it doesn't lie.
Yeah, I testify to that. Well, I tell you what, man, I really appreciate you coming down, man. Well, cool. I know you got a full plate and a busy schedule, man. And like I said, I call Wayne one of the original Harlem Globetrotters, man, because he's always, I look on YouTube, man, he's in Paris, man. I don't know when you're going to pop up at, man, but I appreciate you taking time out, man, to come down and share some of your life with us, man.
Thank you, man. It's a pleasure being here, man.
The door's always open. If you ever want to come back, man, bring your acts, bring some musicians, man. You can do that too.
I'll be back.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in, and remember, no matter what you do, make somebody happy, make somebody strong.
Come on, everybody, put your hands together, bonsoir. Woo! Gotta get ready for the big payback. Come on now. Need some getting back. Come on, come on. All right. Yeah. The big payback. All right. is a tribute to the Godfather of Soul. Now, you know, when he used to do this song, at the end of the song, he had a little thing to go like this. Now, I'm going to show you how it go, and then I want you to join in with me. Is that all right?